Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio no pictures live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the affirmative action and the lowering of quality of people across the board in business, in government, in fact, everywhere you look. Affirmative action and race gender quotas are the order of the day, and they're being aggressively, if not brutally, enforced throughout the entire landscape of the Western world. Again, business, wherever you look, government and so on, public service. When you get people like AOC and Ilhan Omar and so on serving in the US Senate and the US government, federal government, then you know things are in a bad way. And you're seeing the same in Australia, Britain, and elsewhere. You look at people like in Britain, for example, look at people like Angela Rayner and those sort of David Lammy. I mean, fuck, those people should be working in the takeout food store, not sitting at the apex of government. Nonetheless, the thought sort of crossed my mind. I did a video, I think it was yesterday or the day before, where I was talking about the very beginning of mass migration in Australia and how all these illiterate peasants were starting to pile in and were looking for work, but they had no skills, they had no qualifications, they had, they could barely speak English. Of the ones like the Indian Brahmins who came in, that's the upper caste of demigods in India. The Indian Brahmins came in, they all had these fake PhDs that were all acquired through the social prestige caste system. And they proclaimed themselves to be high-powered computer programmers and coders, and in reality, they couldn't cut a line of code to save their lives. They could barely switch a computer on, and so they came in, and so their degrees were worthless. They spoke English well enough, sometimes quite well. They were great talking to them about the philosophy of, I don't know, fucking Socrates or something, but as workers and as people that were prepared to work, they were useless, utterly useless. So anyway, I remember these women, in particular, these women would come around in groups and just appear in your reception area. You give me job, I work hard, you give me job, this sort of stuff. And again, 20 of them could arrive. So those were the sort of people, and I would try to give them a hearing, saying, well, if you made the effort, I'll at least listen to what your pitch is. And some of them I felt bad for because they were trying so hard. But again, I would say to someone, why did you come to this country? You can't speak English. You've got no skills. You've got nothing. Why did you come? And it's the government. The government, I could say, why did you let these people in? Now, at that time when it became increasingly obvious that these people just couldn't get jobs on any form of merit, they had no hope. The odd one or two maybe, but that's it. Toilet cleaners perhaps, but because they just couldn't get any jobs on merit, the government and all Western governments did this, introduced race gender quotas, and you had to have so many brown and black people and affirmative action and all this sort of stuff. So that was the beginning of people who were totally unqualified being gifted jobs that otherwise should have gone to merit-based employment, which would have meant white people. These people spoke English very badly or not at all. They couldn't get jobs. So we'll just make up affirmative action. And the government then leaned on all businesses, particularly businesses that had any sort of government contracts or getting government contracts, to say you have to employ a certain number of illiterate third world peasants. At the same time, they were piling illiterate third world peasants into the West and then forcing, under threat of all sorts of things, forcing businesses to hire these illiterate peasants. Now it's gone full circle. So now these people that were sitting in front of me begging for a job and me saying, no, you can't speak English, you've got no qualifications, you've got no skills, what can I use you for? That was me saying. Now it's gone in reverse. Those people are now sitting in judgment of me and us. So I have a share in a engineering. I'll just be generic here, an engineering business, and so we do a lot of high tech type work, and in high level intellectual property stuff. So we bid often and do work for the big organisations, Quangos and so on. So we get a pretty good cross-section look at things. Now, increasingly over the last sort of few years in particular, the way it goes is when you do, like, you bid for a tender, like for or a contract of work or a package of work, you bid for the work, and the rules have sort of changed somewhat. You used to be able to say, this is, put in your bid, put in your tender, your response and everything. You put that in, and then competent, qualified, straight white males would evaluate. You could talk to them. If you had to go in and do talk throughs, it was all straight white males. There was no affirmative action of any substance in that evaluation process. So you would, in the event there were questions, you would sit down with people that knew what they were doing. They were all qualified, experienced, credentialed. Everyone in the room knew what they were talking about, and you could cover a lot of territory very quickly because everybody was qualified to discuss the technical issues and the ramifications of logistical issues and so on. Anyway, that's how it used to be. That's changed, and increasingly I noticed that people were on these review committees who had no expertise at all. None. I mean, zip. Not that they had a little bit, or they were trainees, or they were, trying to come to grips with it. None. They shouldn't have been there. And they were the affirmative action appointments, but also people were being added to, the LGBTQ Equality Council was being included on the review of a technical project where it was technical only, and they would be there, and we were starting to get questions like, so how many black lesbians do you employ? And I thought, well, what the fuck is that got to do? That's not how we spoke, by the way, when we were there. What the fuck's that got to do with anything? And my colleagues were coming back and complaining about this. Now we recently had to front a committee where, and it's becoming quite Kafkaesque, where we want you to come in and discuss what is it you want us. We can't tell you over the phone. Well, who needs to be there? All of you, and this sort of thing. And these people are act with the sort of some form of like a school teacher talking to a 5-year-old child. They treat us or talk to us and that way. So we end up, and just recently as an example, we ended up, and this is not the first one, we end up sitting in front of a review committee. Again, this is on a technical project, and not one of the people is technical. There's not one engineer or anyone there. So what is it the fuck they're reviewing? Why are we being summoned to appear before this committee? And it strikes me that it's some form of humiliation ritual. But what got me in particular was that the people who were sitting there in judgment of the straight white males, the totally unqualified third world peasants, are now being placed in a committee to review the work of the older straight white, like I'm in my 60s now, the older straight white males, and that they're there and they're drunk, insane, staggering drunk on the power of it all. Guess what? I am now telling straight white males what to do. The white people are now, I am the boss of them. I am the boss now. I tell the white people. I can only imagine the phone conversations and the texts they're sending off to the illiterate peasants back in the village, the third world village. But so these people are, so we're sitting there, and this one was all female. There wasn't a single male there. These were all female now, and they're all, one of them was light brown and the rest were dark brown or black. And so they're there on this committee, these completely unqualified, totally unqualified people. One of them got to be a skilled migrant because she knew how to use a mop and bucket or something. Got through it as skilled migration, and these people skite about it. There's an Indian lady there skites about she's never actually ever had a job. She's never worked, and so she comes to Australia and she walks sort of straight off the plane into a job in this government quango, and so she, again, given her unsophisticated understanding of the world and the universe, she thinks, well, the reason I got that job is because I'm so fucking good. Otherwise they'd have given it to some white person. So I must be better than all the white people. Otherwise I wouldn't. So they've got this insane sort of insane comprehension of the union. So they're sitting there. We are high powered. These women, these third world peasant women, are sitting there in judgment of these every one of us is a professional straight white male, and here are these third world affirmative action peasant women sitting there who are enjoying. They're the ones. If they don't sign off on it, we don't get the work. That's the reality here. So those people that I was saying, no, you can't have a job. You're unqualified. You don't speak the language. You've got no experience. You've got no credential. They're now the ones, those exact same people that I was telling you can't have a job. They are now being affirmative action gifted jobs that they couldn't have dreamed of getting in any sort of merit system. And they're sitting there in judgment of us. And we need their sign off. And they know it. And they're actually demanding that we grovel and treat them with deference, that they are the great gods, they are the superior ones, and they are the great ones. And if we don't do it, we're not going to get the business. And that quite clearly comes across. That's the insanity of where we're at the moment. You've been fantastic today, your pushback channel. Thank you for listening.